All right, we right back at it. The NBA's top players list. Top 60 NBA players of all time. My opinion, of course. But I respect y'all's opinion, so please comment. Let me know, who did I leave off? Who needs to be added to the list? Should any of these guys I'm saying be higher or lower? I welcome the debate. That being said, we down to number 16 on my top 60 list. And I got to give a history lesson. We going with the big O, Oscar Robertson. Can't have a list of the greatest players of all time and not show any love to the big O. Oscar Robertson was a 6'5" point guard in the 1960s. That's saying something, because in today's NBA, a 6'5" point guard is considered a big point guard. It's huge back in the 60s. Oscar Robertson, one of the greatest players of all time. In my opinion, a top 3 point guard of all time. Oscar Robertson was a guy that had a smooth, efficient game for a guy back then. Worked in the mid-range. There was no three-point line, so no need to really be shooting those. But Oscar Robertson had a decent jump shot. Could put you on his hip, get to his sweet spots with ease because of his strength and his control with the basketball and his basketball IQ. Oscar Robertson was a guy who was known for being the triple-double king. Before Russell Westbrook kind of took that mantle by averaging a triple-double 3 years in a row, Oscar Robertson held that honor for years and years. He did it his second season in the NBA, averaging 30-plus points, 12 boards, and 11 dimes. He led the league in assists about 7 times. He was Magic Johnson before Magic Johnson, and even then some, because he was averaging 30-plus points on average for his first 7 years in the league. And really his first 5 years, he was averaging close to a triple-double, even though he didn't quite get a triple-double. Each year, between points and assists, one of them he'd be maybe around 9. The other was double figures. That's just what Oscar did. He won a championship once he got a chance to play with another great player in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with the Milwaukee Bucks. So he's a league MVP, a champion, multiple-time All-NBA standout. One of the greats. If you don't know him, look him up. Number 16 on my list. Now at number 15, and speaking of Oscar Robertson, one other thing. We at the point in this list where all of these guys at some point in their career had a stake or a claim to being the greatest basketball player on the planet. That was Oscar Robertson. No, he probably wasn't the greatest of his era overall, but at points and times in his career, you could make the argument he was the best in the world. The same as my number 15, Dr. J. Mainly played in the 70s. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, people would tell you, was the greatest players of the 70s, but make no mistake about it, Dr. J had a claim to it. Dr. J was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan, had the huge hands. He could palm the ball like it was a Nerf ball. So it was hard to do anything with him. He'd get you close to 30 points a game in his heyday, double-digit boards, 5 assists, could play a little D, multiple-time All-Pro. He was a multiple-time league MVP in the ABA while winning the MVP in the NBA once he got there. Multiple-time champion, twice, if I'm not mistaken, in the ABA, and a champion in the NBA. So he did it in both leagues. That was back when the ABA was doing his thing in the 70s and all the best players weren't in the NBA. Dr. J was the guy in the ABA. And he was a cultural icon. His smooth, charismatic way he carried himself off the court made him one of the greatest ambassadors the game's ever seen. Definitely, you got to know Dr. J and his signature afro if you haven't seen him. And at number 14 is none other than Akeem the Dream Olajuwon. Olajuwon, some would say, was the greatest post player the game's ever seen. Also had a point from 94 to 95 where you could say without question he was the greatest basketball player in the world. He was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Some would say the greatest defensive player the game has ever seen. Also, on top of that, he retired all-time leader in blocks in NBA history. Now, they didn't record him back in the 60s, so we can't account for what Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain did. However, Olajuwon was that dude. He was a 12-time All-NBA standout, 9-time All-NBA defensive team standout, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, League MVP. The Dream Shake was one of the greatest moves ever seen in the post. Guys like Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard, and many others learned from Dream to learn his post moves to incorporate it into their game, because that's how smooth he was. He shake you up out your boots in a heartbeat, and had the famous run from 94 to 95 where he went through some of the greatest centers the game's ever seen. Patrick Ewing, an MVP in David Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal, all en route to his 2 back-to-back championships. Hakeem Olajuwon was that dude. He's number 14 on my list, and that's the list for now. Check back with me soon. All right, that's all the time I got. Y'all know what it is, and you know who you looking for. JHEATsportsmedia. Remember to like, subscribe, or get at me in the comments. And I'm coming at y'all with that fire, as always. Remember to subscribe and pass the word about these videos. Holla at y'all.